So did others.
Hi, everybody. I'm Annie. I'm here with World Studios, and we are going live on a couple of pages. So we're just calling ourselves World Studios now to make it easier. Now, we're here for Women's Fiction Day, and it's very exciting. We have these fantastic authors here from all over the place. They tell stories all differently. I mean, Barbara Davis is even on a different show here later talking about writing magical stories. So, she's got it all. I mean, and she definitely does, because she's got the thriller, the magical realism, the women's fiction. She has it all. Very talented, Barbara. So everyone is, but Barbara, she's on 2 shows, you guys. So thank you for doing that, Barbara. But today with these ladies, I wanted to celebrate the evolution of women's fiction in our lives, because I was thinking we all really start reading women's fiction like when we're in school. We start reading like the classics, the Jane Eyre or the Judy Blooms, and that's how we get introduced. The Nancy Drews, that's a mystery, but it's still a women's fiction, and so that's what we're introduced to. And these things, and then we elevate and we keep going and going and going. So I just wanted to talk about how it came about in your life and everything. And of course, your books. So let's go around and introduce ourselves and your books. So Heidi, let's start with you.
Oh, of course, we're going to start with me.
Okay, you're right next to me.
Go, Heidi, go.
My name is Heidi Hostetter, and I write women's fiction. I write I write about women who find their authentic life. I write about sister relationships, parents, and I have written 6 books set in 3 different places. Usually at the beach, because I like the beach. And my books always have a happy ending, because life is hard enough.
I love that. And you're like, aren't they bestsellers right now? Or is your new one the bestseller? Yeah.
Yeah. The girl I used to be, is
congratulations.
Thank you. Is number 1 in a couple of different places. Divorce fiction, which is interesting. And divorce fiction, and
I mean, these things.
I don't know. Whatever a reader needs it to be is what it should be.
Right.
And psychological thriller, which is interesting too, because I didn't think I had psychological thriller chops, but apparently I do.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Then you can grow from it. That's really cool.
It's interesting that a reader takes your book, you offer it out to a reader, they take it and they make it their own. So whatever they want from it is what they get.
Well, that happens because we're all walking in with our own baggage, right? So we're reading it totally different than you wrote it, and we're reading it different than how somebody. That's why book clubs are awesome, because we're all in there going, blah, 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 no, blah, blah, and I saw it this way. No, that's not how I saw it. We're all arguing over it. She said the sky was blue. No, it was green. We're all, yeah, and like that's the cool part about it. And I think that has to be the hardest part of giving your book to the world. And I understand it's an unleashing, and you offer to the world, and that you're doing this. But I know me, I'm a control freak. So I would have the hardest time being like, oh, here's my book, do with it as you will. I would have a hard time with that, but I do want to write a book, so
Well, it's really,
I don't know.
It's the best when readers connect with the story. They they laugh where you want them to laugh. They cry where you want them to cry, and they come out exhausted at the other end, which is a really good read.
Authors often say that I connect. I caught things in the book that I was supposed to and stuff like that, so that's good. So, but I call myself a method reader, like a method actor. I choose a character that I pretend I'm that character when I'm reading it. So let's go to Grace Salmon, who just became part of Bookish Road Trips book club.
I did. Thank you.
Book club. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. It's a great book club, and thanks for the shout out. And it's been whoops, why didn't I just knock my microphone over? Sorry about that. It's been fun to see some of you were there today reading. And Annie, thank you for having us and for all you do out here. And Heidi, I did not know there was such a thing as women's divorced fiction. So
I didn't know either.
It's one of the great things about being in this author community. We're always learning from each other. So I've written 4 books. My first 3 are in the area of education. My last one, however, is a novel. It's called The Eves, and it's the story about a woman who is finding her way in the world. Some people think it has a happy ending, and some people aren't as happy with the ending. So,
and it is educational. Sorry. No, it is.
it is educational. I can't take the educator out of the author. But it takes place largely in Washington, D.C. and Calvert Cliffs, Maryland, and with a little side trip over to Africa and a little side trip over to Norway. And it's coming up to its book birthday next week.
So exciting.
Thank you.
In a year. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. It's great to be with all of you today.
We're so excited. And I know, like, you hadn't met any of these fine ladies, right? So this is fabulous.
I have not met them before.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Diana Y. Paul, I just want to say I've known her since her last book came out in 2000. Her first book came out, well, her first novel, like women's fiction novel, 2015. I've been begging her ever since to write a second book. It doesn't. I'm not asking for like a second book to the first book. Just write another book because she writes really well. Haven't I, Diana?
Yes.
And finally, she's writing one. Yay! So.
Well, writing is exhausting. Let me just say that.
I know.
And I've written academic books before I wrote the novel. Completely different skill sets, completely different processes. So my academic books were on Buddhism.
Yep.
And I wanted to infuse a novel with the theory of karma as compared with guilt. And so it's a family saga, not a perfect mother's love story by any means. Annie will let you know that one, called Things Unsaid. And it takes place mostly the backstory in Ohio and the present story in California. And it's 3 generations, mainly the women, but it's passing on the parental skills and what you don't want to do if you don't have a role model you want to emulate. So the main character is heroic in trying to struggle with that challenge with her own daughter. And like Heidi, I am categorized as divorce fiction also, sister fiction, and family saga. Those are the 3.
I could see that.
I didn't know there were 3 categories. But anyway, I did write the second book, the manuscript, and it continues the story of Things Unsaid. But it's not really a sequel, but it's the same characters. And this time it's turned into a murder mystery. And I finished it right before the lockdown. So my agent kind of was in a holding pattern, but is trying now to look for a publisher. So that's where I am. And I'm so happy to meet all you authors. I don't know any of your works, but they're now on my very long to be read list. I do have one of Barbara Davis's books. So that one is going to be way up on the queue now. But I do review for the New York Journal of Books and for some other online magazines. I guess you call them e-zines. So my list is close to 100 books right now. But I read 3 a week, so it's not going to take too long.
Brava.
She's awesome. Well, thank you. I never read a book, but she was the first book that I read, and I had been reviewing since 2006 that I ever threw at the wall. And I stared at it. Do I want to pick this up again? And I picked it up, and I threw it at the wall a little while later. But I always had to keep picking it up. But it's the most fabulous book. The throwing it at the wall was a huge emotion. You know what I'm saying? That didn't mean it was bad. Yeah. It was very intense. It was that intense. So,
well, speaking of women's fiction, I just mailed you, the Push, and that's the one I felt like throwing that one at the wall. It is so powerful.
Yeah. You told me don't read that till you recovered from your heart surgery.
Yes, it'll make your heart beat.
Thank you. I do have that book. I did get it. So Barbara Davis, now you have all kinds of different books.
I'm all over the place. I don't know what I'm going to be when I grow up.
I think Barbara Davis is perfect.
I have currently have 7 books. Well, my seventh publishes October 1st, and I'm currently working on the 8th. And I started out writing women's fiction, kind of Southern women's fiction, because I was with Penguin and that's what they wanted me to write. And now I'm with Lake Union, and they let me write whatever I want, and I do. I've written mother-daughter thing. I've written a murder mystery thing. I've gotten into magic. Now
Magic.
I've got a new historical coming out and following up with another historical. So like I just haven't decided what I want to be when I grow up.
This is so awesome. I just think it's so cool. Don't you have a book that's like has a woman that has like a medical problem with like having a child? Is that you?
No. I have a book. When Never Comes is about a woman who's decided to never have children because she's got some of that mama guilt, some of that.
That's what I'm talking about.
Skills to pass on. That's why when Diana was talking about her book, it really hit me, because my books feature a lot of mother-daughter interaction, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
That's what I'm thinking of is When Never Comes.
Yeah, and she has to come to terms with the thing she said she would never ever do is have a child, because her upbringing was so horrendous. She never wanted to repeat those mistakes, and she doesn't have any other skills to use. So she's just written that off. It's something she's never going to do until maybe she has to.
Wow. Okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that one came to me while I was cleaning the toilet.
I have. That's cool. Okay.
Toilet inspiration.
Hey, never stop cleaning your own house, ladies.
I love it.
Brain shuts off, where there's actually room for something else to drift in there. Otherwise, it's just too crazy. And then when I clean or cook, it kind of.
I have to say, you're the Moonlight Girls. I don't remember the whole name. What's it called?
What is it? The last of the.
The last of the Moon Girls.
The last of
the last of the Moon
Girls.
I have to say that book, outstanding, and it's it makes you want to go stand in the just sit in the lavender bath, spend a weekend, but not because the book is calming or
no, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. It's just because of what's happening. There's so much lavender stuff going on in the book.
A lavender farm.
Right. And
herbal.
And I have to tell you, Barbara, I never knew, number one, there was lavender farms. I just thought people grew them in pots. They're 51, so I'm kind of dumb.
Beautiful.
And I'm on Long Island, where there's huge lavender farms. I'm an idiot.
Religious experience. So gorgeous.
Yes. So I haven't gone yet, because I literally just found out when you're booking me out, and I haven't been able to get around since. But I will go one day, and I will let you know. I'll take pictures with the book.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Thank you, Barbara. And Barbara Conry, you have a book I know has medical stuff in it.
Yes, it does. Nowhere Near Goodbye. It is set in Intercourse, Pennsylvania. Heidi, so you like to go to the beaches? I don't know. I got hooked. I got hooked on Intercourse, and that's where the first book is set.
No, and when actually, you said it's set in Intercourse, I was like, oh,
yeah.
And then you called me.
The pause was like, oh, wow. This is
I know, and then you called me out, and I was thinking, what did I ever do to you?
This is women's fiction.
Yes. Second book is also set in Intercourse, but after that, I decided I'm moving past Intercourse. I'm going to move to the next level after Intercourse, which, I don't know, maybe that's death. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's my debut. I am a late bloomer at the age of 71. And
wow. Look how hot
it is also described as divorce fiction, which surprised me because it's really
great
about a brain tumor. Yes, there is a divorce, but it's about a doctor who researches glioblastoma. And I wrote the book because I was angry, and I'm also passionate about certain things. And my friend lost her granddaughter when the granddaughter was 9 years old from glioblastoma, and it totally destroyed my friend. And I wrote this book because of that. And the book was supposed to be about the child and ended up being about the doctor who researched and created this fictional cure for glioblastoma. I did a lot of research, and that was actually the thing that scared me the most about publishing a book, was my research. I researched and researched and triple researched, and I was so afraid people were going to say, oh, this is bogus. But I've had doctors and nurses contact me and say, you researched the heck out of this book. So I felt good about that, and I feel good about the book. It's been received very well. I'm happy with it. I'm almost done with my second book, and I'm hoping that it does well. And I'm hoping that there are a lot more books in me, because I have always wanted to write, and I never let myself do that until I was 64, was when I was retired. So that's when I started writing, and I just haven't stopped since then.
Well, you have a
So
huge
that's my
passion.
story.
You have a
Pardon?
huge passion. You have a huge passion, so you're definitely going to be giving us a lot more books. I can tell. You know,
Well, I hope so.
and I just want to say, I have doctors that are very willing to talk to authors if they need medical advice for their books.
Oh,
Because
good.
I'm not joking. Where like there's already 3 authors that have thanked my doctors on their books.
Well,
Well,
I
the
guess
research part is so important, right? The research that
it
each of
really
us
is.
do is so critical, because it makes it more real.
Yep.
So to
Yeah.
have those very specific things, I know when Barbara talks about that, I have a little piece in my book where one of my characters has brain cancer, and her treatment is that they actually inject polio virus into the brain.
Yes.
And
Yes, they
Barbara
do.
knows this.
Yes.
And
Yes, they
people are always
do.
saying, well, that's not true. But it is.
It
It's
is.
a,
It's
yes.
totally true. Yes.
You just want to make sure you're being respectful, because there are readers out there who have been through horrible things, and they pick up our books because something in it connects, and you just really don't want to disrespect by getting something wrong or kind of like skating through it. So I'm like
Exactly.
everybody else, just checking, double checking, and is there anything here that I am making light of that someone's going to say, hey, you kind of let yourself off the hook.
Exactly. And I spent so much time at the library and talking to doctors, but I pulled out so many books about brain tumor from my local library that literally, first the librarians were smiling, and then by the end they wouldn't even look me in the face.
Oh, no.
Like, I know. And I live in a very small town, and I know they're just waiting for me to pass away from a brain tumor. But
Oh, no.
you know
No, horrific.
What's weird though, like with, when I read a book, especially like when a book is listed as women's fiction, not true medical book, I don't want to feel like I'm reading a Google. Like I don't want to feel like
right.
I'm reading a research book. I don't want to feel like I'm reading something so specific. And I'm trying to get away from that. So I have a hard time. I'm a little bit on the fence about being so specific, because I feel like you're writing a story, you're telling a story. There are things that you are supposed to be compassionate about and stuff, but I feel it is okay to not get everything perfectly right, because I feel it's enough that you're bringing light to the illness, the disease, or
Definitely,
whatever.
it's definitely a balance, because
It
Right.
is.
you know, it's just part of the gig where you
Right.
set out to find out one thing
And you're in a rabbit hole.
how a blood transfusion.
Right.
And then ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. Next thing you know, you're like ready to stand in an operating room and do it yourself.
I know.
So
But the
it's
readers don't need all that. They need just
Right.
enough to understand what the challenges are and to be grounded in the story. And here you're
There
like,
you
but I
go.
got all this stuff I know, and you have to set it aside and
You
just
do.
kind of
Right.
put it away. And it's
There you
Yeah,
go.
just
That's it, Barbara.
little
That's
pieces.
it.
Well, it is. It's that
Yeah.
balance between how far we want to go into that rabbit hole. I think we probably all go there as authors ourselves, but we
Get out of
don't
the
need
book.
to. Yeah,
Put it in the book.
enough to make it real.
so my
Exactly.
feeling
Little
about research,
pieces.
my feeling about research is that you have to know as much as your character knows. So if I don't have to know,
Exactly.
like mine has a divorce in it and it's just a couple of chapters. And I did so much research because my main character actually went through the divorce. So she's been through all of it. And I did so much research that my mother-in-law, who I love dearly, was concerned about my Google search.
You could have called me. I could have told you.
Oh, I had
Write
There's
another
no
divorce
question
book and
about it.
just call me.
I
Oh my God.
so I
That's
think
fun.
the deal with research is that you have to know as much as your character knows, and whether or not you reveal it in the story is up to your character. I mean, it can't be a
Exactly.
book. It can't be a book report because nobody wants to
Right.
read a book report.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right.
That was.
I
there
think
you
that's
go.
brilliant, Heidi.
That's my pearl of wisdom. I'm done. See ya.
Yeah.
I'm done.
It was a good. It's
I'll
a
write
good
it
girl,
down.
though. We all liked it.
Thank you.
I'm going to write it down.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I can exhale now.
You know, it's
I wanted to say,
So
about
what-
Heidi. Go ahead.
sorry.
No,
I'm
no.
sorry, Diane. No,
I
I
was
was
just
gonna,
going to say, go ahead.
Diane.
What I was going to say is that the research, it sounds like, also is the emotional research. Not just about divorce or the operation room, but how it feels for the doctor and the patient, or for the two people going through divorce. And that's a harder type of research, or a different type of research, because some people do not want to reveal all of that because it's so vulnerable for them.
right. That's true.
That's an interesting point. I know at the end of my book, one of my characters doesn't make it. And my beta group said to me, "So how did all the other characters react?" And I went, "Oh, should I be writing about that?" It didn't even. So I was like, "Okay, so this happened." And then I just went on with the story. And thank God for beta groups, because they kind of sat me down. They said, "So you didn't say how this person reacted and that person reacted." And it made it such a better story.
I was just like, wait, that didn't happen. That's so funny. And
Well,
as you
my
did,
developmental editor has to goose me sometimes and go, she just learned this horrific thing about her parents. Maybe there's a reaction shot here. Oh,
Yes.
I
know.
feels.
You had it in your head.
Yes,
Yes.
I can see it plainly. You might
Thank
want to
goodness
share
for-
that.
Thank goodness for good editors too,
Oh,
because
Yes.
I dropped the ball like you wouldn't believe. Like, one of my characters has children that I completely forgot about. I was so wrapped up in the granddaughter thing that I forgot about 4-year-old child who I made 7 and 10 and 4 and 3, and it was just a mess.
Yes.
I always joke because people always want to know, are you a pantser or are you a plotter? And I explain to them that I personally have to be a plotter, because if not, in chapter 3, I'm going to have a grandmother in the attic. And at chapter 49, grandma's still going to be there because
That's right.
So that's why I am a plotter, because I don't want to leave grandma in the attic.
Yeah.
oh, that's so funny.
And
It's
I told
true.
her to do it too. You get on a thread that's so, and meanwhile there's a dog you haven't fed in weeks, and the grandma in the bathtub.
That's true. That's
It's true.
I'm not
Very
as bad
true.
in real life. I'm a little better in real life.
That's hysterical. I love that. I love
That's
that.
great.
I just wrote a little ditty, my first little stupid thing before about the Navajo librarian, and I had index cards all over the place. So I'm like, and it was literally maybe 2 pages long. So I couldn't imagine if I was to write something 300 pages long. It would not be pretty. I mean, I'm an index card junkie. When I do an interview, I'm covered in index cards. You know, and they're in the order. Everything's in perfect order. I'd go nuts.
Color
So
coded.
We're already nuts, so there you go. So
We haven't even talked about the voices in our heads yet.
I know. For me, it's like a swamp forest. Do you remember the Princess Bride with the swamp forest?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and somehow I learned to function in the world. So,
well, Heidi, how often do your books come out?
I started 6 years or 5 years ago.
So it's like one a year.
One a year, yeah.
One a year. That's amazing. Let me just, Alexander wants to tell you, it's great to hear from you guys today. Lainey Cameron's here.
Hey, Lainey.
Hey, Lainey.
And then Echo says she loves that. Nobody wants to read a book report. She says, as a journalist, I've gotten all sorts of weird ads from some of my Google searches for medical stories. I often wonder what someone's looking at my searches might think.
I know I have an FBI file.
Well, I had an author ask my doctor, one of my doctors, how can I kill someone, or how can I stab someone in the stomach and not kill them? And they told him exactly how to do it. And they were so profusely grateful. And I was like, well, my doctor knows how to do that. That's pretty weird.
Am I the only one that thinks that's fascinating? I really want to know that now.
Really?
I think that's very strange. That's very strange.
One night, my husband and I were sitting in a bar, and I was working on my first novel, and I had this problem of this character that I needed to go away. He was not a nice guy, and I was like, why don't I just kill him? So we're talking about different ways we can kill this character off. And the bartender, I look up, my husband elbows me, I look up, he's staring, he's been drawing the same glass for like 30 minutes. I'm like, I'm an author, I swear. And he's like, lady. And you have to kind of know those things, but the process of finding them out does raise some eyebrows.
Wow, that's crazy.
Well, don't you think as authors we pick up all those little factoids? Like now, Annie, we all do want to know how to kill somebody, and we will weave it into some other story. But I find I think that I eavesdrop more than I ever did before. I was always one of those people in a restaurant which would probably be more interested in the table's conversation next to me. But I think these kind of factoids are the things that make good novels.
I agree too. And it's how to bring your characters, put blood in their veins. It's how to make them alive, is, to give them these little ticks. And yeah, I eavesdrop all the time. Plus imagine, what they're doing, or, where they're going. I actually watched a clip of glioblastoma brain surgery. Well, I kind of watched like this, and it was fairly gory, and none of that is in the book.
But get the emotion of it.
For myself, I needed to know. It's like there's a lot of backstory that never gets into the book, but it makes the book. I mean, right, you have to know it, I think. But I have to say something to Barbara Davis, because you are one of my heroes in the author world. And to hear you say that, you forget about somebody from chapter 3 to chapter 49. I do that.
This is why I don't
feel horrible when I do it. And I just think it's great that funny. You do that. So now I feel a little better about myself.
We all do that.
If I tried to write a book by the seat of my pants, good Lord.
I don't know how
anybody does it. God bless them. And I know that there are lots of people who, if they tried to do it my way, they would freak out. I have friends of mine that have freaked out saying, your outline is 150 pages long. My brain is bleeding from this. but I couldn't do it their way. We're all wired wonderfully different. We all write wonderful books, wonderful characters. We all get there our own way.
Right.
Sometimes
Absolutely.
it's a mishmash of both, but we somehow figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's why if you want to become a writer, it's very good to take class, and you're going to take classes from a bunch of different people, because you're not going to learn it from one person. You're not.
No one way is the right way. There's no
Correct.
one right
I
way.
agree. You're going to get a little bit for a play, because I'm taking a bunch of different classes. And, what I was going to say about Barbara, Connery watching the surgery. And even though that was not in the book, that emotion while you were watching it still poured out and I still say the pen onto the paper, even though that's not what you're using. But that's what I use when I write. But it still comes out while you're writing the story, and we can feel it. It's just amazing how readers can feel the essence of what authors are thinking beyond just the story.
Absolutely.
Beyond the written word.
Yep.
Beyond the written word. And especially and that's how you could tell, I'm going to say it, that's how you can tell someone who skims a book and someone who really reads a book. Because if they're really reading it, they're going to catch all of those innuendos, all of those things. And I think that's really, really interesting. Because I have a friend, and she's a skimmer. Now, she loves to skim books. This is her thing, because she doesn't have time to read, but she loves to read books. So I'm always like, but you missed this. She's like, oh my God. Thank God we read the same book. So I always tell her like what she missed. And there's plenty of people that do that. I'm not saying it's a horrible, horrible thing, because I know people don't have time to necessarily take notes like I do, right? So everybody's different, just like every author is different. But it's a lot of fun when you have a friend to bounce off of, and I don't know. It's just when you can really dig deep into what an author's saying. I've often been interviewing an author and they've said, oh, wow, I totally meant that. You're right. That's what I meant. Oh, my God. And that's Barbara Lynn Probst is one of them. And she still talks about it from her Queen of Owls book. She's like, it didn't even dawn on me. That's totally why I wrote that, and it's like, oh, my God. So it's a lot of fun. That's the fun of interviewing authors and everything. Do you think, I want to ask this question. Do you think that, when we were in school, and this is the evolution of writing, and we all would get questions that said, they said the shirt was blue, but did they mean that the person was really sad? Right? Like, what is that called? There's a special name for it. Echo, you'll know what it is.
Not simile, not metaphor.
Metaphor.
Okay.
Do you think do you think metaphors are mostly for like literary fiction, classical fiction, or do you think they're used in everyday, all types of writing? And like we're maybe missing them, because I don't hear many people talking about those anymore.
Let me
I don't think we use it in. Go ahead, Diana.
I was just going to say my 6-year-old granddaughter has to learn about idioms. She's going into first grade.
Oh my goodness.
On YouTube, there's a song for little kids about idioms. So when I say something like, oh, it looks like it's going to rain cats and dogs, Isla will go, that's an idiom. And it's looking out of my mind. She just turned 6 a couple weeks ago.
They're the smartest girls, though, your girls. They're very smart.
They're funny.
I was probably in high school before I knew what an idiom was.
Right, I know.
And I mean, this is on YouTube, and it's a guy singing the song, and all the little 6-year-olds know the song, and it gives all kinds of examples of idioms. It's wild, the language arts at such a young age.
That's great, though. That's wonderful.
They're going to be reading really strong books.
And I worry because so much is this with the thumbs, and this is, B4 with the 4 because it's too hard to write, you know, the
Right.
Yes. What's happening?
Absolutely.
about lost language skills. So I love that's being taught at some level.
Do you know I won't even answer my daughter's text? My daughter, she's going to kill me. She's in college and she texts me, and I won't even answer her text unless she writes me in full sentences with punctuation. I'm sorry. I don't understand what you're talking about. I paid for your education. You're going to need to step it up a little.
It's just so hard.
Oh, Heidi, you're so funny.
You know, I'm old. I don't get it.
Now, I don't either. You know, if you grow up with the love of words, it's when I first started writing, I was married to someone else. Long story, but he did not believe in, he wasn't a reader, but he also didn't believe in my skills, my talent. And he always said, you do not understand people these days. No one wants to read books like yours. You write too elevated. People want simple, you know, they don't want the metaphor. They don't want the simile. And I can't dumb myself down. Words are just too precious to stop using those. You know, I mean, we in our house now with my current husband, you know, you don't know a word, look it up, get a dictionary, look it up, elevate yourself instead of dumbing down, you know, because it's hard. I believe in bringing people up, give somebody a great story and make it worth the read, make it worth.
Absolutely.
I think that brings.
Sorry, I love when I'm reading a book and I have to look up a word. I love that.
It's one of the reasons I like reading on an e-reader. You know, you can just touch it and get that instant definition. But I think you all touched on something that is really dear to all of us. It's the love of the words, the love of the language. And I just rejoice when I read somebody I'll look at their words and I go, oh my gosh, I can't do that. You know, that absolutely beauty that you see on the page. And other people, you know, may see that in our own writing. But when you experience that as a writer too, that's just like the best meal. And then the idea of, I think what Barbara Conry was talking about, and my thunderstorm has started. I know Heidi's.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah, it's 3:00 in Florida. It's time for that thunderstorm. But it's that love of learning, the love of words, and then I can't remember who said it, but there was something about the books that we write. You know, I think many of us write the books we want to read, right? And that's an expression we hear all the time. And frequently I'll get, oh, I've never read a book like yours. And that sometimes takes me back. Like, oh my gosh, nobody else has written it, therefore it must not be a good book.
That's great.
But I think that that's a really important thing that we all bring to what we write, that book that we want to read.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I totally agree. I'm so happy to be talking to you, Grace. It's like we've communicated, and I'm just thrilled that
I am too. I haven't met the others, but Barbara and I have been Facebook friends who are now real friends, like Annie. I never thought that really happened. You know, I've only been on social media, I guess, 13 months, and I really thought it was a crazy place to hang out and be.
It can. You have to pick and choose.
You have to be careful.
Note to self.
But the writer support with colleagues
absolutely
is wonderful. And then when you do meet at a conference or something, you feel like you've known each other forever because you.
I appreciate.
Echo says, Grace, I agree. The love of words and love of learning are what we bring to the writing. And Echo also says, a lot of backstory never gets in the book, says Barbara Conry, but it makes the book so true. She's taking out quotes for us, you guys, and holding them for us. So that's wonderful.
Thank you, Echo.
Thank you, Echo. So I don't want to keep you guys any longer because I know you have a long day with this Women's Fiction Day because you guys are so popular. I really appreciate you spending time with us today. And I hope you'll come back to World of the Writing and everything.
Absolutely.
I mean, because we have 6 different shows that you can be on. We got lots of stuff that you can do. And you guys are so much fun. And everybody, check out their books. You know, they're all so wonderful. I've only read The Moonlight. I can't even remember the name, which is horrible. I don't. It's because I'm brain freeze. I can totally see the cover. The cover.
Oh, here,
Barbara
look.
has it.
Look,
There
there we
it is.
go. I got your
I
mug.
forget Barbara's got a mug.
Whoa.
I love it. It's so
Why can't I?
beautiful.
There we go.
There
Like
we
to
go.
the Moon
There we
Girls.
go.
I
Oh,
need to
Barbara,
get.
I
let me
love
announce
it.
this. That isn't that beautiful? I want to announce this. Barbara and I are having a special event July 31st.
Yes, we
So
are.
Tell.
yes. So she donates to the Beagle Freedom Project. And they rescue beagles from being used for makeup
In
makeup
medical
testing,
testing labs.
medical
Yeah.
testing, everything. So we're having a
Electronic
special
testing.
event where they're going to come talk with two makeup people that I know and one of them's an author and a makeup guy, and he's donating a huge makeup thing to them to auction off. But it's going to be awesome. So
Yes.
everybody pay
Awesome.
attention. And
Yes, and
what
I
we're going
just
to do is
Good job,
you can
Barbara.
take a picture with your animal if you want or whatever, and it's going to be a big thing. So pay attention.
yes, and maybe yes, and I heard from them today.
Oh,
The president of the organization, Shannon, I forget her last name. July 31st is good. She's going to get back to me with the exact time. I told her between
okay,
3 and 7,
okay,
and so I should be hearing from her again in a day or two.
perfect.
So they are
So prescient.
super excited because, and this is, I talk about the research and rescue beagles in both of my books. I am very passionate about it.
I
I
know,
have a rescue beagle,
I know.
and there's so much that can be done to help these dogs and this organization that is totally voluntary. Um, they need money, they need advertising, they need everything, and
Well,
it's
I
been
wrote
around for a long time.
to a ton of authors that have dogs, and I said, if you had to donate money to put up a picture of you and your dog that day, would you do it? And they were like, yeah. So yeah,
Good, good.
it's going to be a great day. All right.
That's
So
good.
thank
I
you
have
so
one
much. You
question.
guys are awesome. Have a wonderful day, and thank you everyone for being with us.
It was a pleasure to meet
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank
See
you so
Barbara.
much.
Annie, thanks.
Bye bye.
Take
Bye.
care, everyone.